So how did you get into this work originally? Like as far as the Akashic Records?
Yeah, I want to hear about the first time.
Yeah.
The first time you got in and you're like, whoa.
It was weird because, so I'm an interior designer by trade, and I had an amazing job. And like it all started leading up to spirituality. So I started moving more into that, and that's a longer story. But I had been doing energy healing and really doubting myself. I had learned all the tools and stuff, and I was using it, but I still was a little bit, I don't know if it, I had doubts, which we all do.
Yeah. Am I doing this right?
For sure.
Yeah. And it was like, I was visited by spirits, and I was like, how am I going to tell this person that I'm just seeing like their grandmother or whoever? And I didn't fully trust it. And my teacher had told me that you can't access your Akashic records yourself, that you have to use what is called an Akashic Records keeper, which is kind of like a guide who comes from the Akashic records and gives you information about, from your Akashic records. And I thought that was just weird. And I love my teacher, but I was like, this doesn't make sense to me. It didn't, something in me resonated, and it just kept showing up, how it happens to everybody. Like you start listening to Akashic records all over the place, and that's how you get pulled into it. And then the first time I went in, it just felt like home. It was totally different from the 3 months that I had been doing like every week for intuitive healing, which were amazing. But this was just like even next level. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I had been communicating with the grandfather of a friend like 2 weeks before that. And I grabbed this book, and the book, I was like, he's showing me this book, and it said, trust your intuition. And I could read the title. I could read it, not necessarily hear it. And that was weird for me because I was like, why am I reading the message? And I noticed that they were trying to show me the message so I wouldn't doubt listening to it in my own, knowingness, or just like listening to it in my mind. And when I went in the records, the same thing happened. Like I started seeing the letters and the words just spread out inside in the air. Like they were showing me all these things, and it was much more visual than my normal experience.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And it was really cool. When I went in, they were like changing the channels of like a landscape and a window. And they were like, she likes the ocean, so let's put ocean. Like I could see them like setting the whole space up. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that's just home. And I felt bad because I was like having this really intense experience next to the rest of the group. But then we practiced with other people, and then I didn't get anything. So I was like, oh no, maybe this isn't for me, So It was a very interesting, amazing experience.
Had you had any experience prior to that with any type of mediumship or anything that would imply or give you the impression that you would be driven towards this work?
No, my aunt, who is in many ways, she's very close to me. Yeah. She was told by this psychic the year before that her daughter was going to be in the Akashic records. Like she had this connection to the Akashic records, and her daughter's like so not into this. So I knew it was me, Yeah. I was like, oh, okay, that's me. But I was like, that just sounds so weird. Right. But then it really, after that, it just started popping up everywhere. And I was like, I'll just sign up, like I just felt it.
Yeah.
But I've never had an Akashic Records reading before.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love that you approached it in a very practical way, because I'm naturally a skeptical person when it comes to pretty much everything, especially when it has a tinge of woo in there. But I once I went into that, and especially you noticed when we were talking earlier about like the doubts that you experience as a healer that give you this feeling of, okay, am I ready for this work? And I think of that, especially in my sound healing or even my Reiki practice, as being obviously the greatest catalyst for people like us, because it pushes us into these unknown realms and this like unknown territory.
Yes.
So was there fear when you initially went into that? I mean, because I imagine you enter, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is it something that is relative to how we would see maybe astral projection, where you leave your body?
Some people do have that experience, and I feel like I have it, but I'm not that aware of it, because I do feel like I go up to some place and that I'm seeing all these places and different landscapes and different guides. And it just doesn't feel like when I talk to my regular spirit guides that are closer to me down here on earth. So I do feel like you leave your body. And now that I'm working with a medium, and she's training me more in mediumship outside of the Akashic Records, because I also do mediumship inside the Akashic Records, I notice how my body always, whenever we start, it just goes up because it's used to that.
Right.
So it was happening, but I wasn't aware of that. But I've never been afraid of that. When I was little, I was afraid. And when I started knowing that, oh, nothing can really hurt you, and getting into all that stuff, then I was fine.